I think it's a clear improvement on what's there now. We're bringing people off the street into the fold of our services. And we know that once people start using services, they start stabilizing.
But what they didn't do is separate out what services that people are offering. So they said, well, people in the sort of the Vanier postal codes access, a large share of the services. But those aren't the emergency shelter services.
It's the food
those
bank.
aren't those aren't the residential services. Those are things like the food
and
bank.
We're not talking about a food bank. We would be here if someone was saying they were going to open a food bank.
The whole building is modern. It's not going to look like anything social or what have you, landscaped and what have you. Compared to some of what's there now, wow.
All these people are going to now share their backyard with a shelter. Is this going to be an improvement? There's only 35 beds right now at the Concord Hotel, so there's not a lot of traffic back there. Is it the prettiest building in the world? No, it's not. My hope for the community and the BIA's hope for the community was that someday this property would be sold and an anchor tenant would develop it properly with a traditional Main Street bent, and we would see a revitalized neighborhood.
The community-facing elements of this facility are at the front of things. Right? So even the landscaped terrace in the front is geared to be opened up for community events. Program space inside is completely designed to be leveraged by the community. If the BIA wanted to have a meeting in there, by all means, come and use the space.
They call it a community hub, but it's not a community hub. The people are not going to go there for meetings. There's no daycare, there's no gym, there's no pool, it's not a recreation center. You can't get into the facility unless you're using the beds. The overwhelming part of this development is the shelter beds. I mean, everything else, they're putting it under one roof because it's easier to manage in one location, I guess. But they can all be offered separately.
Some of the issues of the mix of the programs as well is that they're putting people who are actively using, which is about 40% of the beds, right next to addictions treatment. Which is, the analogy I've heard that probably best fits it is that it's like having a Weight Watchers meeting at an all-you-can-eat buffet. So when you actually put people who are trying to recover from addiction with those who were actively addictive and possibly using with them recently, then that actually is something that is detrimental to the process of recovering from addiction.
In fact, the Ottawa Mission moved their drug and alcohol center out to Canada because they felt it was too close. And they were getting a poor success rate when they kept it downtown with their shelter.
We looked at 12 to 15 specific properties in the city. Took those properties and put them against the criteria that we were looking for. Proximity to our clients and proximity to the services that they need, size of the actual land, the site, accessibility to it, all those types of financial. I mean, we're a nonprofit. So as we look at Montreal Road, it really does fit many. I mean, the only real element of Montreal that didn't fit our criteria was the zoning. But even at that, as we looked at the zoning closer, it was only the shelter use component that wasn't fitting. And when we looked at the existing use of the motel there, we felt, okay, really it is suitable for this area.
Last time I saw, there was 42 social services in Vanier. Vanier is 1.6 kilometers by 1.6 kilometers. It's a tiny little community. And it's got 42 social services. One
resident in the community actually added all of these social services up and compared it to the downtown east side of Vancouver. And per square kilometer, if the Salvation Army moves there, we'll have nearly the same density of social services per square kilometer as the downtown east side of Vancouver.
50% of the people that use are community and family services. So that's, again, assistance with food, clothing, furniture, summer camps, stores for Christmas, managing money. 50% of people we serve live in that area there that's highlighted in yellow. So, and the new facility is that green spot there, right in the middle. So, of course, it's important for us to be central, accessible as much as possible to everybody.
There's an inverse correlation between the level of social services and the income of a neighborhood. So Old Ottawa South, the Glebe, and Westboro have among the lowest concentrations of social services in the city, where Vanier and I forget what the other neighborhoods are, have among the highest, those that are much more low income. So we tend to push all the social services into the poor neighborhoods because we say that's where the poor people are. But then you tend to, people who can move out of those neighborhoods then move into the more affluent neighborhoods. You start to get this further stratification of incomes and in fact income mobility. Because we're doing that, there needs to be a fair share of distribution of those services, and then people will have more opportunity to actually move around.
when you try to open a shelter or something like that. Can you imagine the discussion we'd be having now if this was being opened in the Glebe on Bank Street or on Elgin Street? If we're doing this in Rockcliffe, any other main street in the city? I mean, the pushback would be immense.